Sun protection, so important this time of year. Today, throughout the city of Toronto, the UV level is at about 6, and that's considered high. So sunscreen, you need that today. We're going to start off the forecast here with some video out of Texas. Jump back into our forecast here throughout southern Ontario. Today, there is the potential to see some thunderstorms. I'll tell you exactly where coming up, but first, Kevin Yard, he was out at Woodbine Beach enjoying the beautiful conditions. Have a look. Thanks for that, Kevin. We'll talk about temperatures and all of our forecast details in a second, but I want to focus in right now on the thunderstorm risk. Essentially, we have a lake breeze coming off Lake Ontario, same thing with Huron, and essentially those winds could meet up just about here. Shelburne, Fergus, these areas could see non-severe thunderstorms throughout the day today. In terms of getting into some of that moisture, it really is just sticking south down towards Windsor. This is where we do have a special weather statement in place. City of Toronto should not be seeing any showers. Now, this is a good pattern. This is a look into early May. When we see this orangey yellow color, that means we're going to be slightly above seasonal. So, hey, there's the good news here. We are going to be above seasonal over the next few days, really. Saturday, it's going to be a gorgeous day. Showers stick to the east. Sunday, same thing goes. Very light winds. I want you to watch out, though, for some road closures. We have the Mississauga Marathon going on and the Toronto Marathon as well. So if you're out and about Sunday morning, you could get caught in some closures. Well, thanks for tuning into the Weather Network. I know we're friends right now because the weather throughout southern Ontario is brilliant. It's spectacular, and it's going to last like that over the next few days. We are looking at above seasonal temperatures. Drying trend looks good into the weekend. I'll have all the details coming up. But first, I want to show you this. Have you heard about this story? Camp. So many stories coming out of Nepal, and we'll continue to bring them here at the Weather Network. I want to take you outside now. Let's join Kelly Noseworthy. All right, Kelly, thanks for that. I want to take us now into our forecast for the city of Toronto. What can we expect throughout the day today? Perfect conditions, really. 16 degrees, bang on seasonal. Throughout the evening, you're going to want to enjoy all of this sunshine. Of course, use sunscreen today. UV level at around 6, so that is considered high. Now, this is a little focus here on some of the thunderstorms. Yeah, there is a thunderstorm risk. We do have a lake breeze off Lake Ontario here, and then as well off Huron. So as those two winds sort of meet up, this is where we could see some convergence, and this is where we could see some convective activity. So watching out for some non-severe thunderstorms. This is how some of the moisture plays out. Unfortunately, down south in towards Windsor, they're consistently into that rain as we do have an offshore low through here. But in terms of today, this is what it should look like at around noon. Some light rain showers moving through. It does look to miss the greater Toronto area. It stays more to the west of us. And then as we look even further in through Thursday, clear conditions. Friday, same thing goes. And into the weekend, things are looking good. We really have a perfect forecast. Temperatures will be slightly above seasonal. The next chance of seeing some rain late Sunday and into Monday. I know, this time of year, you want to get outdoors, you want to enjoy the sunshine, but today, throughout the city of Toronto, the UV index is at 6, so that is considered high. So pack the sunscreen. You will need it throughout the day today. We'll talk about our weather, our very warm weather coming up, but first, have a look at this video. This is our must-see video. Camp. There are still some survivors of that avalanche that are determined to finish their climb. Pretty amazing. All right, I'll take you outside now to Woodbine Beach. Here's Kevin Yard. Looking good, Kevin. And you know what? So is this 7-day forecast. My producer, John, says stand right here because then you can't see this. Yeah, the rain that's going to come into play. But first, let's get through the weekend. Brilliant. 18, 20 degrees. No rain in the forecast. Monday into Tuesday, that's when we do see our next low coming into play, and we're talking about some consistent showers. When severe weather strikes this summer, you can bet that the Weather Network will be the first to let you know. With our new application for your smartphone, we'll send you push notifications when watches and warnings are in place for your region. And here's why immediate notification is so important. A beautiful forecast, really. Throughout southern Ontario, we are seeing perfect conditions. The skies look like this today around the CN Tower, and we'll have your full forecast coming up. But first, the active weather down south, down falls. Wild weather. We'll talk about more of our weather story in just a moment. But first, I want to take things outside. Here's Kevin Yard. 20 degrees. Yeah, 20 degrees on Sunday. It's going to be great. But before we get there, here's Kelly Noseworthy in Bradford. All right, thanks for that, Kelly. Now, earlier, Kevin was mentioning the risk of seeing some thunderstorms west of the Greater Toronto Area. That's because we have some lake breeze off Lake Ontario, same thing off Lake Huron, and essentially they're meeting up just about here. And that could create some convective activity. So if you are traveling outside of the GTA, keep that in mind. But within our little bubble, we should be dry throughout the day today and very warm temperatures as well. As we look at the pattern into May, this looks great. This orange color here, this represents above seasonal temperatures. So when we are talking the high teens into the low 20s, this is where we should be sitting. This is a little snapshot into Saturday. Mostly sunny. It's going to be a pleasant day. Rain sticks off to our east. Sunday looking even better as well. We will see some rain move through late day Sunday. It will be up through northwestern Ontario throughout the day. It should hit our backyard throughout the overnight, and then looking at a rainy forecast Monday and into Tuesday. You're watching the Weather Network. It's April the 30th. I'm Rachel Schoutsen, and we have a great forecast. Really, no complaints here. I want to start off with some international footage here. Have a look at this must-see video. Is some of the survivors still determined to finish their climb? All right, we'll bring our story back here at home, and we'll join Kelly Noseworthy outdoors in Bradford. Yeah, and the long range looking real good. A lot of runners getting ready for the Mississauga Marathon and the Toronto Marathon. I'll have a special look at that just in a second. But first, let's look at today. Yeah, let's focus on this. Amazing news, 16 degrees, 12, but it does not affect the city of Toronto. All non-severe thunderstorms, and essentially the reason why we're seeing these spark up is some lake breeze. Some breeze off Lake Ontario as well as Huron meeting up just about here, and this could create some convective activity. So this is a little precipitation forecast here. You can see throughout Thursday afternoon, this is when they could start to spark up. Most of the rain does stay south down in towards Windsor area. Actually, a special weather statement is in place for this. And then this is a look at the long range here. Friday, you can see us nice and clear. A little bit of moisture off to our east. Same thing goes in through Saturday. The next thing we're watching for is some moisture moving through northwestern Ontario. You can see it coming down through here, and this should be affecting us late day Sunday. So if you're running the Mississauga Marathon, the Toronto Marathon, all clear weather, no rain coming into the forecast. Conditions are going to be beautiful. It's actually going to be a fairly warm day, up to 20 degrees. So good news is that run is in the morning, and the winds will be very light as well. Just watch out for those road closures if you are traveling around Toronto or Mississauga. We are not cold at all. No, we are above seasonal. Things are nice and warm this afternoon. 17 degrees for the city of Toronto, 18 up in Peterborough. We are looking at a thunderstorm risk, though. Yeah, we are seeing a lake breeze off Lake Ontario. Same thing goes off Huron, and essentially those two winds, they're sort of meeting up right about here. So this is where we could get into some convective activity this afternoon. Let me show you some beautiful activity, though. Yeah, look at this. Conditions are looking great this afternoon throughout Quebec as well. Here's your icon, 16 degrees in Montreal. Beautiful up and down the St. Lawrence River. No complaints there, right? We'll take you out to Atlantic Canada, where things are slowly but surely getting a little bit better. We're still seeing below seasonal. However, all of this rain in the forecast here, this continues to clear. So that's the good news. Friday, we will be in the clear. The Avalon, still seeing some of that drizzle. When we look at those winds, they're a little bit calmer today, especially in the Gulf, but off the Avalon, that's where we are still seeing some stronger wind gusts, and those are going to last like that right throughout the day today. As we look at the rain, okay, 5 to 15 millimeters of rain, especially for the Avalon. That's going to be where some of your heavier hit areas are. But then as we look across the Maritimes, less than 5 millimeters. So grab the umbrella, maybe a rain jacket too. Put the hood on, you should be okay in terms of that. We're not going to be seeing heavy downpours throughout the day today. We will jump now, and we will go into BC and Alberta, where it's a little bit cooler now than when we started off this week, but overall comfortable conditions. We are seeing rain moving on to the BC coast, and then we are seeing the potential to see some convective activity as well across the prairies. Before we go, check out this. And the best weather to paint in, well, that's when conditions are very dry. I'm going to say Quebec is probably the best spot, not seeing any moisture in the forecast. For everybody else, there's a little bit of a risk. This is a look at Friday afternoon. We are seeing clear conditions across the prairies, but the risk of seeing some thunderstorms still lingers on the BC coast, drying out quite nicely. And then as we focus off into the east, notice a few of those showers happening throughout eastern Ontario and Ottawa, but nice warm temperatures, 18 in Ottawa and Fredericton at 13. Thanks for tuning in to The Long Ranger. We are taking a special focus on the month of May. I'm Rachel Schoutsen, Dr. Doug Gillum. But first, let's look back. This is the past 3 months, and it was cold.
Yes, but as we have gone through April, the pattern has relaxed. We've seen some milder weather in the prairies, though a lot of back and forth. Not quite as cold in Ontario, but still below seasonal in Atlantic Canada.
Okay, and now as we focus into May, it's looking even better out east. This warmer trend of air comes into play. And it's funny, Doug, we were talking about Halifax. The warmest Halifax has been in 2015 is 13.6. Yeah, we are seeing a nice warm trend off to the east. And then the west, it's quite changeable, isn't it? It
sure is. You know, a chilly weekend, warming up to near 20 on Tuesday, but back down to 11 in Calgary on Wednesday.
And then as we look to the east here, still seeing those warmer temperatures, 20 degrees in Ottawa. Now, when we talk about some of the weather that's coming into play, again, we're looking at sort of changeable weather across the prairies and then this moisture here.
Right. The question is it right over southern Ontario or to the south? But the potential for a significant amount of rain early next week, then conditions improve nicely, but to the west, a rather unsettled week, a significant system with a lot of wind and rain for the middle of next week.
And what about naming some storms?
Right. It looks like we'll have a subtropical system developing off the Carolinas, possibly Anna, well ahead of the start of the tropical season.
Okay, well, I'll be looking forward to that. Thanks so much for your analysis, Doug. We will all look forward to a little bit of a warmer May, and we'll have your national forecast coming up. Flooding, yeah, we'll show you some pretty good video coming out of Canada, of course. It's to warm after that harsh winter, but it's also coming along with that price, the ice melt and the snow melt. So keeping a close eye on some of those ice jams. Now, in terms of that moisture, you can still see the Avalon caught in some of those rain showers, starting to really dissipate over the Maritimes, though. So good news. Tomorrow, yeah, you'll still see the rain over the Avalon. That will finally clear out for the weekend. And you know what? It is looking like a very nice weekend out in Atlantic Canada. You just got to get through this. 5 to 15 millimeters of rain for the Avalon. Less than 5 more widespread across Atlantic Canada. We'll jump into Ontario now. And temperatures, again, will continue to warm. So, again, it becomes an issue, right? Keeping a close eye on that. As we look into Ontario here, Moosonee, where that video was shot, 4 degrees. Windsor, 14, getting into some of the rain. Toronto, 17, very pleasant day. There is a slight risk of seeing some thunderstorms today throughout southern Ontario, just with some winds off Huron as well as Lake Ontario, so places like Shelburne and Dundalk, you could see some of that convective activity. Same thing goes across the prairies. In terms of the temperatures, it is a very warm day throughout Manitoba. That feels like summer. More like spring throughout Alberta and Saskatchewan, but boy, summer weather in Manitoba today. The risk of some thunderstorms, it's going to be there. When we look at the rainfall totals here, this rainfall forecast, less than 5 millimeters widespread throughout Alberta and Saskatchewan. That's going to be showers today and even into tomorrow as well. Heavier amounts of rain in Manitoba. That's a today story, and that's being with the cold front that's passing through. This is the risk of seeing some thunderstorms throughout the day today, even into tomorrow, this evening as well. Okay, I'll take you into Richmond now. Richmond, British Columbia. Beautiful conditions. Look at that sky, a crisp blue. You could even get outside and enjoy some ice cream. That's how wonderful it was. Now, in terms of some of those showers on the BC coast, you will feel them through this afternoon and throughout the overnight as well, but they're all dissipating into tomorrow and the weekend. It's looking pretty good. Before we leave you here, check this out. We'll look now at our Storm Prediction Center and have a look at the thunderstorm activity today. Thankfully, down south into Texas, yeah, they're out of that risk. We are not seeing that enhanced risk. As we look at Friday as well, more central states here, and then that sort of grows a little bit more widespread in through Saturday. Someone who's definitely keeping an eye on this, well, that's Mark Robinson. Here he is. You got that right, Mark. When we look at some of the thunderstorms today, we saw them this morning throughout southern Saskatchewan. We still have the risk to see them today right out of Alberta through Saskatchewan and over to Manitoba as well. As we look at the temperatures, nice and warm, especially in Manitoba. A slight cool off in Saskatchewan, but still nicely above seasonal. I want to jump into the rainfall forecast here. Spotty showers for Alberta and Saskatchewan. More consistent rain for Manitoba as we do have a passing cold front. Before we leave, watch this. A warm up on the weekend. Yeah, Atlantic Canada, you definitely need that. Fredericton has a 20 in the forecast for Monday. Things are going to be feeling great. I'm Rachel Schoutsen. We're taking a look at our satellite and radar right across the country. This is a little bit of thunderstorm action happening throughout southern Saskatchewan. Rain moving onto the BC coast. We have constant rain down in Windsor, Ontario. Same thing with Niagara. And we do have special weather statements in place for Windsor, so we'll keeping you updated on that as we go on throughout the hour. I want to show you scenes out of BC. have a look at this. This is Richmond, British Columbia, at our rainfall forecast, our precipitation forecast, if you will. So the good news is we'll see the rain throughout the evening, overnight, but all tapers off throughout the day on Friday, and just in time for the weekend, this comes into place, high pressure, and we are looking at a great forecast throughout the lower mainland for this weekend. You'll have to get through this, so less than 15 millimeters of rain for places like Vancouver and Victoria. We are seeing higher amounts for the central and for the northern coast. Now, as we look again across the country, I want to focus in more on what we're going to be seeing across the prairies. So this is some snow throughout the higher elevations. Edmonton does run the risk of seeing a thunderstorm late day today. As we look at Friday, that rain moves throughout Manitoba. You'll be in the clearing, but unfortunately, it's a little bit of a tough forecast here. We are seeing those spotty showers throughout the day on Friday for Saskatchewan, clearing through Manitoba, and then again, same risk as we move into Saturday as well. When we add up all of that rain, this is through till Saturday morning. We're not looking at a huge amount of rain. You might need the umbrella or maybe just your hood, but it's not going to be a washout by no means here. Less than 5 millimeters of rain. That's the general rule widespread here. You can see more throughout Manitoba, and that's because we're basically encountering that cold front moving through today. So that's going to increase some of the rainfall totals here. In terms of seeing some of that convective activity, some of those thunderstorms in the forecast, you can see here almost right across the prairies. Edmonton could see that, as well as northern Saskatchewan as well. I want to take you now into Ontario, northern Ontario, up to Moosonee, which will cause some of that thaw. Now I want you to stay with us here because we've got more on your forecast just ahead. And Earth. I'll show you a little preview coming up. But first, let's talk about Ontario's story. This is getting into some of those thunderstorms. We are seeing a lake breeze off Ontario, same thing off Huron, and essentially those winds, they're meeting up just about here. So this is where we could see some of that thunderstorm risk throughout the day today. In terms of the temperatures, boy, it's going to be nice, 17 degrees for the city of Toronto. We have an offshore low, and it's feeding in some moisture right to Windsor, so we do have a special weather statement in place for that. I want to take us out to the prairies now, and we'll join Deb in Calgary. That is important, Deb. You're right. And look at the temperatures today. 15 degrees this afternoon. Lethbridge at 19. A little cooler than how you started off this week, but still extremely comfortable. Perfect spring day. Across the prairies in Saskatchewan, we saw the thunderstorms earlier this morning. A little bit of a warm up now into the afternoon, but that rain really moving through central Manitoba now. And along with this comes a risk of seeing some thunderstorms. Highlighted in the yellow here, non-severe thunderstorms. And then as we look at it into tomorrow as well, you can see how that risk sort of switches more towards the north. Those are some areas that we're watching. And Saskatoon, you're just on the edge of that there, so we'll keep an eye on that too. I'll take you into Halifax now, where finally it was a good day yesterday. Yeah, Wednesday was beautiful in Halifax. You could roll the windows down, enjoy the breeze. It was great. Now this afternoon, 6 degrees. Okay. Temperatures slowly starting to climb. So there's the good news here. But over the next 7 days, look at Halifax, 15 degrees on Monday. That is going to feel amazing. We do have unearthed tonight living ice. I want to show you a little preview of it right now. We are not cold at all. No, we are above seasonal. Things are nice and warm this afternoon. 17 degrees for the city of Toronto, 18 up in Peterborough. We are looking at a thunderstorm risk, though. Yeah, we are seeing a lake breeze off Lake Ontario. Same thing goes off Huron, and essentially those two winds, they're sort of meeting up right about here. So this is where we could get into some convective activity this afternoon. Let me show you some beautiful activity, though. Yeah, look at this. Conditions are looking great this afternoon throughout Quebec as well. Here's your icon, 16 degrees in Montreal. Beautiful up and down the St. Lawrence River. No complaints there, right? We'll take you out to Atlantic Canada, where things are slowly but surely getting a little bit better. We're still seeing below seasonal. However, all of this rain in the forecast here, this continues to clear. So that's the good news. Friday, we will be in the clear. The Avalon, still seeing some of that drizzle. When we look at those winds, they're a little bit calmer today, especially in the Gulf, but off the Avalon, that's where we are still seeing some stronger wind gusts, and those are going to last like that right throughout the day today. As we look at the rain, okay, 5 to 15 millimeters of rain, especially for the Avalon. That's going to be where some of your heavier hit areas are. But then as we look across the Maritimes, less than 5 millimeters. So grab the umbrella, maybe a rain jacket too. put your hood on, you should be okay in terms of that. We're not going to be seeing heavy downpours throughout the day today. We will jump now and we will go into BC and Alberta, where it's a little bit cooler now than when we started off this week, but overall comfortable conditions. We are seeing rain moving on to the BC coast, and then we are seeing the potential to see some convective activity as well across the prairies. Before we go, check out this. Could even get outside and enjoy some ice cream. That's how wonderful it was. Now, in terms of some of those showers on the BC coast, you will feel them through this afternoon and throughout the overnight as well, but they're all dissipating into tomorrow and the weekend. It's looking pretty good.